I was standing in the old stone hallway of our cottage in the Cotswolds, phone in my trembling hand, rain hammering against the windows like angry fists. My husband, Daniel, had promised me this move to England would be our fresh start. A place where we could heal after years of struggling. Instead, it became the beginning of the end. My name is Eleanor, and for 2 years I lived with a man who slowly became a stranger, obsessed with the dark secrets this ancient country hides. Every weekend he dragged me to crumbling churches, foggy moors, and abandoned manors, chasing the top 10 scary British ghost stories he couldn't stop talking about. At first I thought it was just a quirky hobby. I even found it charming. But charm turned into obsession, and obsession turned into betrayal. I'll never forget the chill that ran down my spine the first time I heard him whispering on the phone at 3 a.m., saying, "She doesn't understand, she never will." I told myself it was nothing. Just one of his ghost hunting contacts. But deep down, I already felt the fracture in our marriage growing wider, like the cold drafts that seeped through the old walls of our home. What I didn't know that night was that the real ghost haunting our marriage wasn't some restless spirit from a British legend. It was the lie living right beside me in our bed. And the truth, when it finally came out, was far more terrifying than any phantom I could have imagined. For months Daniel dragged me deeper into his world of shadows. He would sit for hours reading about the screaming skull of Bettiscombe Manor, the headless horseman of Dartmoor, and the vengeful lady in white who walks the corridors of Raynham Hall. He said these stories helped him feel alive. But while he chased ghosts, he was quietly destroying the life we had built. I started noticing the little things first. Lipstick on his collar that wasn't my shade. Hotel receipts hidden in his jacket. Late nights investigating that left me alone in our freezing cottage, jumping at every creak in the floorboards. I begged him to stop. I told him I felt like I was losing him to something darker than any ghost. He would just smile that distant smile and say, "Ellie, you don't understand. These stories, they speak to me." The final crack came on a bitter October night. I followed him to an old abandoned rectory he'd been obsessed with, the one tied to the legend of the Black Monk of Pontefract. I hid in the shadows, heart pounding, expecting to see him filming for his secret YouTube channel. Instead, I saw him with her. Sarah. His research partner. The woman who had been helping him decode these ghost stories for months. They weren't hunting spirits. They were wrapped around each other in the moonlight, laughing softly about how clueless I was, how I could never understand his deeper calling. My world imploded in that moment. The man I had loved, the man who once held me through my darkest nights, had betrayed me in the very places where these terrifying British legends were born. The pain was so sharp it felt like a physical wound. I drove home through tears, the winding country roads blurring, whispering to myself, "How could you do this to us?" I spent weeks broken. I barely ate. I wandered our cottage like one of those lost souls in the stories he loved so much, hollow, drifting, shattered. Every creak in the house now felt like judgment. Every cold spot felt like the chill of his lies wrapping around my heart, but somewhere in that darkness, something inside me began to shift. The pain slowly hardened into something colder. Stronger, decided I wouldn't be another forgotten victim in someone else's ghost story, started gathering the truth the same way Daniel gathered his precious legends, quietly, methodically, relentlessly, recorded every suspicious message. Every hotel charge. Every late-night call. I reached out to the friends and family who had watched our marriage slowly die. And then I did something he never expected. I created my own channel. Not about ghosts. About the living monsters who hide behind pretty stories. On the 1-year anniversary of that night in the rectory, I released a video titled "The Dark Truth Behind My Marriage, The Real British Horror Story." I didn't scream or rage. I simply told the truth, calmly and clearly, the same way I'm speaking to you now. I showed the proof. I let people see the man behind the charming ghost hunter mask. The response was overwhelming. Within days, his secret group of researchers turned on him. Sponsors who had funded his little ghost adventures pulled out. Friends who once defended him now distanced themselves. The online community he loved so much exposed him for exactly what he was, a cheat who used his obsession as a cover. The last time I saw Daniel, he looked like a ghost himself. Pale, broken, eyes hollow. He stood in our old driveway begging me to take the video down, whispering that I had destroyed him. I looked him straight in the eyes and said the words I had practiced for months, "You invited the darkness in, Daniel." I just turned on the light. He left England a few weeks later. I stayed. Today I still live in that same Cotswolds cottage. The creaks don't scare me anymore. The cold spots feel like old friends. Because I learned the most important lesson from all those scary British ghost stories: the real ghosts aren't the ones that haunt old manors. They're the lies we allow to live inside our homes, and the versions of ourselves we have to bury when we finally face the truth. If someone is slowly replacing you with secrets, with late nights, with another person's arms, don't wait until you become another tragic story. Gather your strength. Speak your truth. And let the light expose what the darkness tried to hide. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's simply refusing to stay silent.